Should Christians celebrate the Jewish feasts? Stay tuned and find out on this episode of Jewish Jewels. Many believers are learning about the importance of the Feast of the Lord. One of my favorites is Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles, which occurs this year from October 6th through October 13th. It is the last of the fall feasts proclaimed in Leviticus chapter 23. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days to the Lord. You shall dwell in booths, tents, for 7 days. All who are native Israelites shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt." Sukkot is my favorite holiday. I'm sure many of you have never heard of it, but it is actually the third of the pilgrim feasts in the Bible, when all Israelites were commanded to go up to worship the Lord in Jerusalem. Sukkot is often downplayed in the United States and other countries as well, and I'm not sure why, since it is so rich, with the major theme being joy. When we lived in a private home while our boys were growing up, we ate and slept in our sukkah for 8 days. At least I did with my sons and our beagle. My husband, Neil, preferred our bed inside since he was sensitive to mosquitoes. I loved sleeping outside and looking up at the stars and contemplating the fact that God calls each one by name. There is a triple command to rejoice at Sukkot. One of them says, "And you shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of beautiful trees, branches of palm trees, the boughs of leafy trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days." That sounds like a party to me. In fact, my husband Neil used to say, "God is throwing a party, and you are all invited. You don't have to attend, but you are welcome. Just accept his invitation." He was especially referring to non-Jews, who, by the way, often celebrate this particular feast even more than many Jewish people. Why? Because Sukkot is prophetic, inclusive, historic, international, and very spiritual. Why is Sukkot historic? Because it looks back to Israel's time in the wilderness on their way to the Promised Land and to God's faithfulness in providing and protecting them, just as he protects and provides for us now in our earthly pilgrimage on our way to heaven. Our holiday of Thanksgiving was modeled after Sukkot, since it is also a harvest festival known as Hag HaAsif, the Feast of Ingathering. Sukkot is the only feast of the Lord that is called the feast. Not even Passover has that distinction. Sukkot is also called Zaman Simchatenu, the season of our rejoicing. No other feast has so many names because no other feast is so multifaceted. I love that Sukkot speaks to our hearts of moderation and escape from materialism. Dwelling in flimsy booths keeps one's focus on the important things in life, people, not things. It reminds us of the fragile nature of human life. We are all just passing through, and our bodies are temporary Sukkot. The real treasure is on the inside, our spirit. Dwelling in a sukkah or booth helps keep our focus on dwelling and resting in the presence of God. Sukkot is definitely in our future. The Bible, both the Old and New Covenant scriptures, makes it clear that one day all nations will go up to Jerusalem to keep the Feast of Sukkot. The prophet Zechariah says, "And it shall come to pass that everyone who is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles." The penalty for not going up, according to the prophet, is no rain or blessing on that nation. My favorite day during Sukkot has a name, Hoshana Rabbah, the day of the great Hosanna. It is the last great day of the feast, spoken of in the New Covenant in John chapter 7. It was on that day that the Messiah Yeshua made an astounding proclamation. On the last day, that great day of the feast, Yeshua stood and cried out, saying, "If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water." But this he spoke concerning the Spirit. The Messiah spoke these words in the context of a water pouring ceremony, which happened every year at the feast, when God's people would thank him for the rain that had come and for the rain that would be sent upon their land. They chanted Isaiah 12:3, "Therefore with joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation." So here was Yeshua, whose very name means salvation, promising living water to his people. I have my own water pouring ceremony at Sukkot every year. I pour out water from a pitcher and pray for the Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit of God, to be poured out upon my loved ones, my neighbors, my friends, the nation of Israel, and our country. I worship the Lord and wave palm branches and sing Hoshiana, Hosanna, which means save now. There are Jewish people all over the world, especially on the last day of Sukkot, marching around synagogues with palm branches in their hands, praying Psalm 118:25. Save now, I pray, O Lord. O Lord, I pray, send now prosperity. They don't know that their Sukkot prayers were already answered when Yeshua rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, as the multitudes waved palms and cried out, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. Hosanna in the highest. I hope you are thirsty for more, because it is time to drink deeply with joy and experience the reality of God, dwelling with you personally. The world is getting darker, but no matter what comes upon the earth, you can be secure in Yeshua's sukkah. I love what Psalm 27:5-6 says. For in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his sukkah, in the secret place of his tabernacle. He shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. The entire Jewish Jewels October newsletter is about Sukkot. So if you want to learn more about this fascinating feast, go to jewishjewels.org for a free subscription or click the link in the description. Hag Sameach. Happy feast. Happy holidays.